Welcome to Recovery Works PowerPoint 1, Creating a Presentation with Text and Shapes. To begin, we'll open PowerPoint. In this class, we'll use Microsoft PowerPoint 2010, although you can use Microsoft PowerPoint 2013 or 2016 if that's what is loaded on your computer. Find the PowerPoint icon on your computer. It looks like an orange P, and then double-click to open PowerPoint. You'll begin with a blank PowerPoint presentation. Notice that a blank PowerPoint presentation always starts with a title slide containing placeholders where you can key a title and a subtitle. Before we begin our own presentation, let's look at a sample PowerPoint presentation so you understand the guidelines you should use when creating a PowerPoint presentation. Here's a sample basic PowerPoint presentation that I have created. PowerPoint is a presentation software package, and it can be used to create presentations for school or in the workplace. There are certain guidelines you should think about when you create your PowerPoint. As we discussed earlier, when you open a PowerPoint presentation, it always begins with a title slide. Remember, that title slide contains what we call placeholders, where you can key text for a title and a subtitle. You'll also want to choose a design theme for your PowerPoint. So you can see this is a completed title slide. It has a brightly colored design theme, and it has a title as well as a subtitle. After you create the title slide in PowerPoint, you'll want to think about creating title and content slides. Slide 2 is a title and content slide. So it has a title and then content. And the content in this case is bullets. Many of the slides that you'll create for a PowerPoint presentation will contain a title and bullets. Before beginning any PowerPoint presentation, keep in mind that you as the presenter should always be the focus of the presentation. Before beginning any PowerPoint presentation, remember that you are always the focus of the PowerPoint presentation. The PowerPoint you create is meant to enhance your presentation. Everything that you say should not be on your slides. In fact, you should create bullets that summarize your points with a font size of 24 points minimum so your audience can read the bullets. You also want to keep in mind the 5x5 rule. The 5x5 rule is a guideline that you should have no more than 5 lines on a slide, and each of those lines should contain no more than 5 words. Once again, that will help your audience stay focused and make sure they can easily read the text you've included. You also want to keep in mind that because you are the focus of the presentation, you should try not to read from the slides. So those are good guidelines to keep in mind as we work through this course. As we're learning the basics of PowerPoint today, most of the slides that we create will contain bullets. But in many PowerPoint presentations, slides are created that contain objects other than text. For example, in slide 3, I've created a slide with an arrow shape with text inserted into the shape as well as an image. And at the end of the class today, you'll learn how to add images and shapes. If you take PowerPoint Part 2, you'll learn how to insert other objects. For example, in slide 4, I've added SmartArt. You'll want to use SmartArt when you want to visually communicate a concept. And once again, that concept is covered in PowerPoint Part 2. In slide 5, I've inserted a column chart, and it's recommended to use a chart in PowerPoint if you want to communicate data. And at the end of your presentation, you'll always want to include a slide that allows your audience to ask you questions and contains your contact information for questions your audience might think of after the presentation. When you open PowerPoint and when you create your presentations, you're in normal view. We'll talk more about the view buttons at the bottom of your screen, but you'll notice that on my screen and your screen right now, the normal view is selected. As I said, this is the view where you'll spend most of your time in PowerPoint as you create your presentation. But your goal when creating a PowerPoint presentation is to create a slideshow that you can show to your audience. So the final product in PowerPoint is a slideshow presentation. Let me demonstrate to you how a slideshow would look so you can see the difference between the normal view when you create PowerPoint and the slideshow view when you present the PowerPoint. I'll begin by scrolling up and returning to slide 1. Next, I'll change my view from normal to slideshow view. So let's take a look at what the slides would look like in slideshow view. Remember that if this was an actual presentation, I would spend more time speaking about different concepts that relate to each slide. But for now, I want to primarily demonstrate to you how a PowerPoint presentation displays. We begin with the title slide, and to move to the next slide, I'll click my left mouse button, or in some presentation setups, you would be able to use a remote. Here's an example of a slide with bullet. Most PowerPoint presentations do include bulleted text to emphasize key points. So in this case, as I click my mouse, each bullet will appear. I could speak about it to the audience, take any questions, and then move on. So I will just continue to click to demonstrate how text displays on a PowerPoint slide. When I'm finished with this slide, I'll click and then I'll move to the next slide. And this is the slide that we discussed where we have a shape as well as an image. I'll click to move to the next slide. This is the slide that uses SmartArt. Remember, SmartArt is used when I want to present information visually. Let's move to the next slide. Remember, this is the slide using a column chart. And with this type of slide, I can present data. You may notice that I have a sound effect. Each time I present a new set of data, you'll hear a clicking. That's an option that you can decide to include or not to include. And I'll click one more time. And this is the last slide so that I can have a question and answer session with my audience as well as present contact information. We're done looking at the presentation in slideshow view, so I'll return to normal view. Now that you've had an overview of PowerPoint, you can begin to create your own presentation. You'll start with the title slide. The first thing you'll want to do is apply a design theme to your PowerPoint to add color. To apply a design theme, click on the Design tab. And then select a theme from the Themes group. Notice if you move your mouse over each design theme, just hovering, not clicking, you can see what the design theme will look like in your presentation. Design themes use different colors and different fonts, and when you work with bullets, each design theme may use different bullets. Note that in the Themes group, at the bottom right, there is a More arrow. Go ahead and click on that so you can see more choices. We're going to go ahead and create a PowerPoint for a place called Pine Ridge Park. So let's select a theme that goes well with that topic. In the last row is the thatch theme. Let's select this theme because it will work well with our Pine Ridge Park topic. So now we've applied our design theme. Notice we still have the title and subtitle placeholders, but in this design theme they've been moved to a different part of the slide. To use placeholders, you simply click and then type text. We'll begin with the title. Click where it says click to add text and then type Pine Ridge Park. You don't need to press enter. To move to the subtitle, you'll simply click where it says click to add subtitle, and for the subtitle, we'll type Get Back to Nature. And so we're done with our first slide. Next, we'll add another slide. If you're going to work in PowerPoint regularly, you'll want to become very familiar with the New Slide button. The New Slide button is located in the Home tab. Go ahead and click on the Home tab, and then move your mouse to the New Slide button in the Slides group. Notice that the New Slide button has a drop-down arrow. We won't be using that for now. There are different types of layouts inside of PowerPoint. The next slide that we add is going to be in the title and content layout. That's the most popular layout to use in PowerPoint. And the title and content layout will automatically be added when you click the new slide button. So at this point, we don't need to worry about changing the layout, so we won't click on the drop-down arrow for new slide. Instead, we'll click on the new slide button. Now we have slide 2. This part of your PowerPoint screen is called your slide thumbnails pane. We can see we have a new blank slide 2, and then we can also see the slide in our editing area. Notice this slide also has placeholders. We'll begin by adding a title to this slide. So we'll move to the placeholder and click. Next, we'll type overlook, loop, trail. Now, if your keying speed is not as fast as my keying speed, you can always stop this class, key in text, and then return to the class when you're finished. This layout is called title and content. So we've already added the title. Next, there's a content placeholder. Notice it is set up so that you can add bullets. Notice the bullet and the placeholder click to add text. Most of the slides that we create today will contain bulleted text. So to create the slide, we'll click to add text and then type our bullets. Notice in the center of the title and content slide, there are content icons. Those would be used to add other types of contents, such as tables, charts, and SmartArt, and you'll learn about those in PowerPoint Part 2. So let's finish this slide. We're going to add 2 bullets to this. Remember, in PowerPoint, our guideline is the 5x5 rule. That means each slide should contain only up to 5 lines of text with 5 words per line. Remember, those are just guidelines, but what you want to keep in mind is that you don't want to completely fill a slide with text and images, because that will actually detract from your message. So to add a bullet, you're going to click on click to add text, and for this we'll type 2.3 miles. Now I'd like to add another bullet, so I'm going to go ahead and press enter. Notice that will automatically add another bullet, and for this bullet point we'll type view of Pine Ridge Gorge. And so we're done with our second slide. Let's go ahead and save this file. The quickest way to save a file is to use the Save button on the Quick Access toolbar. Move to the Save button and click. If you're saving to the Documents library, that is already selected for you. If you're saving to a flash drive, you will need to move to the Computer section and then find your flash drive. I'll be using a flash drive today. If you're using a flash drive, it may have a different name and a different letter following the name, but it will be the last item in your list. If you cannot find your flash drive because your computer section is collapsed, such as this, you may have to move your mouse pointer to the arrow to the left and click. Then click on your flash drive. You'll want to make sure that the file name is Pine Ridge Park. The computer will automatically name your file the text that you keyed into the title placeholder on the title slide. You can change that if you want to. In this case, we do not need to change the name. To finish this process of saving, you'll click on the Save button. And now let's insert more slides into our presentation. Remember to use the new slide button each time you insert a new slide. Slide 3 will also be a title and content slide with bullets. So to insert slide 3, let's move to the new slide button in the Home tab and click. We'll add a title to slide 3 by clicking in the title placeholder, and we'll type the text, Pine Ridge Trail. Next, we'll add bullets. Follow along as I key the bullets, making sure to press enter after each bullet. Next, we'll insert slide 4, once again using the new slide button. The title for this slide is Mountain Lodge. Next, we'll add the bullets. Next, we'll add slide 5. Slide 5 will use a different layout than the title and content layout we used for slides 2, 3, and 4. To add a new slide, move to the New Slide button, but this time, because we're using a different layout than title and content, click on the drop-down arrow next to the New Slide button. Notice there are 9 different layouts. We're going to use To Content. Move to To Content, the first selection in the second row, and click. Notice this layout has 3 placeholders. We'll begin by typing the title, Outdoor Activities. Then we'll move to the content placeholder on the left. Click on the Click to Add Text placeholder and type Summer, and then press Enter. In this slide, we want to create second-level bullets. You may think of those as being subtopics for the main topic. So in this case, I'm going to list summer activities. In order to create a second-level bullet, I want to indent the bullet and the text. To do that, I'll press the Tab key on the keyboard. Find the Tab key on the left-hand side of your keyboard, press the Tab key, and you have now created a second-level bullet. And we'll type hiking in that bullet. To type the next bullet, press Enter. Because hiking is a second-level bullet, the bullet that follows it will also be a second-level bullet. Let's key boating. Press Enter to create the third second-level bullet, and we'll type biking. Now let's move to the content placeholder on the right and click, and we'll type winter. Press Enter. The next 3 bullets that we're going to create are second-level bullets, so be sure to press your Tab key to indent the bullet and the text. And you can follow along and key the same bullets that I'm keying. And let's save the presentation by clicking on the Save button in the Quick Access toolbar. We're not quite finished adding slides to the presentation, but before we add the other slides, there's other parts of PowerPoint that I want to show you. Let's return to slide 1. To do that, you can use the Slide Thumbnails pane scroll bar, scroll up, and then click on the slide 1 thumbnail. We're in normal view. That's where we have created the slide. At the very beginning of the class, we discussed slideshow view, and remember we had said that your goal with PowerPoint is to create a presentation that you can show in front of a group of people. There are 2 other views in PowerPoint. Let's see how we can use slide sorter view. To change from normal to slide sorter view, find the view buttons at the bottom right of your screen. Next, click on the slide sorter view. Slide sorter view is the view that you can use to move slides or to delete slides within your presentation. Let's use this view to move slide 4 into the number 2 position. Click on slide 4 and then press and hold down on your left mouse button and begin dragging. As you drag, you'll notice that you'll see an arrow and a very faint vertical line. In order to move this into the slide 2 position, you'll need to move the arrow so that it is between the number 1 and 2 slides, and you will also see the vertical line display. When the line and the arrow are in the correct position, release your left mouse button, and you have now moved the slide. Let's practice moving again by rearranging slides 3 and 4. Click on slide 3, and then press and hold down and move the arrow and the vertical line between slides 4 and 5. You can also use the slide sorter view to delete slides. Let's delete slide 2. Click on slide 2 and then find and press the delete key on your keyboard. If you're using a regular keyboard, the delete key is one of the 6 small keys above the arrow keys on the right-hand side of your keyboard. If you're using a laptop, the delete key is most likely in the top row. Once you find the delete key, press the delete key, and notice it is gone. Next, I want to talk about the undo button because I want you to bring that slide back. If you want to undo an action in PowerPoint, you can use the undo button. We'll try that right now. The undo button is in the quick access toolbar. If you move to the quick access toolbar, you'll find the undo button, which looks like a blue arrow that points to the left. You have now undone your last action. The undo button keeps a history of the actions you've performed in PowerPoint. So in this case, we're undoing just the last action. But if you wanted to undo more than one action, continue to click the undo button and it would continue to undo. Now that you know how to use slide sorter view, let's move back to normal view. Next, let's look at how we might use outline view in order to rearrange or edit our presentation. In the slides thumbnail pane, you are currently in the slides tab. Switch to the outline tab by clicking on outline. Outline view is another way that you can rearrange slides by dragging. Let's move Mountain Lodge into the last position in our presentation using outline view. Move your mouse over the slide 2 icon and notice that a 4-headed arrow displays. That indicates you can move the slide. Next, press and hold down, begin dragging, and you'll need to do this very carefully. Notice the vertical line that moves with the 4-headed arrow. We're going to move this slide to the end of the presentation, so you'll need to continue to press and hold down and drag until the arrow and the line are underneath ice skating. Then you can release your mouse. And you have now moved the slide. Remember your undo button. So if you tried that and it didn't work, if you maybe released it too soon, and that slide went into a position that you didn't desire, you can always undo and try it again. Let's move one more slide. Let's move slide 2 down one slide. So to do that, move your mouse over the number 2 in outline view. When the 4-headed arrow displays, press and hold down, and then remember you do not want to release the button until you have the arrow and the line in position. Press and hold and drag until you get underneath the bullet View of Pine Ridge Gorge in slide 3 and then release. You can also use your outline view to add text. In outline view, you can look at your whole presentation instead of just viewing one slide at a time. And many times when viewing your presentation in outline view, you may decide that you need to add or delete text from your presentation. For example, I want to add a bullet to overlook Loop Trail. I could do it in my slides view, and I can also do it in the outline view. Let's add a bullet to the overlook Loop Trail. Move your mouse pointer, which will look like an I-beam, after the word gorge in slide 2 and click. Now your insertion point displays. To add a new bullet, press the Enter key and then type. And we'll type Wildflower Garden. Notice as you're keying in outline view, you can see your slide in slide view. Let's add a bullet to Mountain Lodge. Click after the word rooms in Mountain Lodge, and once your insertion point is flashing, press Enter, and we'll go ahead and add Arcade as the next bullet. Now let's return to Slides view by clicking on the Slides tab in the Slides thumbnail pane. Save your presentation by clicking Save in the Quick Access toolbar. Return to Slide 1 by scrolling in the Slide thumbnail pane and clicking on Slide 1. Next, we'll talk about notes in your presentation. You may want to include notes to yourself in your presentation. Notes can help you remember what to talk about as you move through different parts of your presentation. You can easily add notes to each slide, which you can then print out for your use during your presentation. To add notes, all you'll need to do is click on Click to Add Notes at the bottom of the screen. And then you can add any notes that you want to. For example, we could type in this note, introduce myself, and discuss the history of the park. If you want to add more notes, you can continue typing. You can even press the Enter key if you want to add even more notes. You can do this on as many slides as you want to. So for example, I could click on slide 2 and I could add notes to that if I wanted. When we talk about print options, I'll show you how you can view and then print your notes page. Return to slide 1 by clicking on 1. Next, let's use the font group in the Home tab to change the font formatting in the title, Pine Ridge Park. When using the font group to change formatting, you must select the text that you want to change. And there are 2 ways to select the text. Begin by clicking in the text. Notice that as you hover the mouse over the text before you click, the mouse pointer changes into an I-beam. I would suggest that you click just to the left of the first character. Once you've done that, you'll see the placeholder display with dotted lines, and you'll also see the insertion point where you clicked. So to select the text, the first method we'll use is to press and hold down your left mouse button and drag across the text that you want to format. In this case, Pine Ridge Park. Move to the font group. Notice that Pine Ridge Park already has bold applied. We can tell because the bold button is yellow. Let's change some of the other formatting. We'll begin by changing the font. Notice when you click the font drop down, you'll see many different types of fonts, and they're in alphabetical order. You can press and hold down on the scroll bar to move through the fonts. Your bulleted text, you should use a very standard type of font that is included in your design theme. But you may want to get a bit creative with the title font to make that stand out. So in this case, let's scroll down and let's change the title font to Candera. And notice that the name Candera now displays in our font box. We could also change the point size of the font. It is currently at 36. Let's make it a bit larger and change it to 40. You can also increase or decrease the font size with the increase font size and decrease font size buttons. Let's click the increase font size button one time. And when we do that, notice that it changes the font to 44 points. Let's move down to the second row. Bold has already been applied. Notice that you could apply italic or underline to the title if you wanted. You can also apply a text shadow. Let's click the text shadow button to add the shadow. And finally, let's move to the last button and let's add font color. If you click on the font color button, the text will change to red. If you click on the drop-down arrow, you can choose another color. The theme colors that are available to you are based on your design theme. I'm going to go ahead and pick yellow, accent 2, lighter 40%. Now let's format the subtitle. Move your mouse I-beam into the subtitle text and click. To format Pine Ridge Park, we selected the text with the I-beam. We could do the same to select the subtitle, Get Back to Nature. Another way that you can select all of the text in a placeholder is to click on the outside border, which is currently a dashed line. So let's move to the outside border. When the four-headed arrow displays click, notice that the dashed line has now changed to a solid line. When the placeholder is selected and displays a solid line, any formatting that's applied applies to all of the text in the placeholder. So in this case, we'll be able to move to the font group and apply font changes to get back to nature. Let's change the size to 24, and let's add italic. Click on Shadow, and also use the font color drop-down to change the color to black. If you decide you want to clear all the formatting that you've applied to text, you can use the Clear All Formatting button in the font group. Let's go ahead and clear all formatting from Get Back to Nature. Because the solid line displays around the Get Back to Nature placeholder, when we click the Clear All Formatting button, it will clear formatting from all of the text in the Get Back to Nature placeholder. Move your mouse to the Clear All Formatting button. It's the last button in the top row of the font group. Click, and you can see that we've cleared all of the formatting from the selection, leaving only the plain text. Let's move to another slide to see how the Change Case button in the font group works. Click on Slide 2 and select just the text Pine Ridge Gorge. We have decided that we would like this text to be in all caps, and we don't want to retype it. We'll be able to use the Change Case button to easily change all this text to uppercase. Move to and click the Change Case drop-down arrow. Notice you have a variety of choices, and each choice is displayed in a manner so you can see how it would change your text. You can change to sentence case, lowercase, uppercase, capitalize each word, or toggle case if you accidentally had the caps lock on and your text was toggled. In this case, we'll choose uppercase and click. When we're finished, we'll want to click outside of the text to deselect it. So that gives you a good overview of the font group. Next, I'd like to show you the Format Painter in the Clipboard group. Click on Slide 4. The Format Painter is designed to help you copy formatting quickly. Let's begin this exercise by formatting the text in the bullets hiking, boating, and biking. Select the text hiking, boating, and biking, and add bold, and change the color to yellow accent to lighter 40%. And then click outside of the text so it's no longer selected. Let's copy this formatting to the winter bullet, skiing, sledding, and ice skating. Begin by selecting one of the bullets that contains the formatting you want to copy. Next, move to the Clipboard group and click one time on Format Painter. Move your mouse over to the slide and notice that it has changed to the Format Painter cursor, which looks like a paintbrush. You'll want to press and hold down and drag the Format Painter icon over all three bullets in order to copy the formatting. You'll want to begin by moving your mouse, which looks like the Format Painter, just to the left of the S, and then pressing and holding down and dragging down. When you have selected all three of the bullets, release your mouse button, click outside of the bullets, and you have copied the formatting using the Format Painter. Now let's learn some of the features of the paragraph group. We'll begin with alignment. There are 4 types of alignment in PowerPoint. The alignment buttons are located in the bottom row of the paragraph group. You can hover your mouse over each button to see the 4 different kinds of alignments that can be used in this program. Notice that Align Left is the default alignment. Default settings and programs are built into the program, and it is assumed that that is the setting you'll use most often. Next is Center Alignment. You may use this for titles. The next button is Align Text Right. This is not used as often, but it is used if you ever needed to align text to the right. And then finally, Justify. That aligns text to both the left and right margins. Let's practice using the alignment buttons by changing the title of our bulleted list, Summer and Winter, to center alignment. Go ahead and click into the word summer. Because this is paragraph alignment, you do not need to select the word summer. You would only need to select text if you needed to adjust more than one line, more than one bullet, or more than one paragraph. So in this case, we're going to center align summer. Let's move to the center align button and click. Let's repeat the same steps for winter. Click into the winter bullet heading and change the alignment to center by clicking on the center button. I'd also like to remove the bullets from summer and winter now that they are centered. To do that, I'll move to the bullets button, the first button in the top row. I can see that bullets are applied because the button is yellow. By clicking the button, I turn off the application of bullets. I'll do the same thing for summer. Click into summer, move to the bullets button, and click. Let's take a look at what else you can do with the bullets button. Notice that our bullets are standard bullets. On this particular slide, let's change the design of the bullets. Begin by selecting hiking, boating, and biking. Next, move to the bullets drop-down arrow. Notice you have different choices. In this case, select star bullets. And then select the bullet skiing, sledding, and ice skating. And repeat the same steps for the bullets by clicking the drop-down bullets arrow and then selecting star bullets. Finally, click outside of the selected area. We've made a lot of changes, so let's go ahead and save our file. Hover your mouse over the Save button in the Quick Access toolbar on the top left. Notice that the shortcut key for the Save button is Control S. Let's go ahead and save the file by pressing Control S instead of clicking the Save button. So go ahead and move your mouse away from the Save button. Find the Control key, CTRL, on the bottom left of your keyboard. Press and hold that down, and then press the S key on your keyboard. And now your file is saved. It really is a matter of preference whether you will choose to save your files by clicking the Save button or pressing Control S. Let's go ahead and click on slide 1. Next, let's insert another slide and learn how to insert shapes on the slide. Scroll down to move to the last slide in the presentation and then click on that slide, slide 5. We're going to add a title-only slide so that we can work with shapes. Remember, to add a new slide, you need to find the New Slide button in the Home tab. To select the title-only layout, you'll need to click the New Slide drop-down arrow and then find the title-only layout and click. Click on the title placeholder where it displays Click to add title and then Key Trails. Now we're going to use the Insert tab to insert shapes. Inside of the shapes, we'll key the names of the trails, Pine Ridge Trail and Overlook Loop. Click the Insert tab, and in the Illustrations group, click the drop-down arrow for Shapes. Notice there are many shapes to choose from, and they're divided into groups. Move to the Stars and Banners group, and find the shape in the second row, Curved Up Ribbon. Click on that shape. Move your mouse to the slide and notice that a crosshair displays. You will now press and hold down on your left mouse button and drag to insert the shape onto the slide. Don't worry if the dimensions of your shape don't look exactly like mine. I just want you to approximate this shape, and then I'll show you how to make the shape a precise height and width. The crosshair will begin where you would like the top left corner of the shape to be. So put it just below the trails placeholder, press and hold down, and as you drag, you'll see the shape displaying. Make sure you don't release your mouse button until the shape looks how you want. When it does, you'll release your left mouse button. If you let go of your mouse too soon, you can always stop the recording and try this again. Notice after you've drawn the shape is selected. We can tell it's selected because it has a border around it. It also has white handles. The handles on the sides are square shaped and the handles in the corners are circle shapes. We can use the handles to resize both width and height. I would recommend that you use a corner sizing handle so that when you resize in proportion or width and height at the same time. Let's practice this. Let's make this shape smaller. And as I had said, I'm going to show you how to make the height and width precise, but for now, we're just practicing. So the height and width of your shape may not match mine exactly. Let's move to the handle at the bottom right corner. You'll know you're in the right place when your mouse displays as a double-headed arrow. The double-headed arrow always indicates resizing. Press and hold down, and when your mouse turns into a crosshair, start dragging your mouse diagonally to the left. Once you have resized the shape somewhat, go ahead and release. You can now see that the shape is smaller. You could resize it from another handle. Let's try resizing it from the bottom left corner. You'll know you're in the right place when you hover the mouse over the handle and the double-headed arrow displays. Press and hold down and drag. You can also move your shape. To move your shape, you'll want to move into the shape. When you see the four-headed arrow, you can move the shape. Press and hold down and move the shape. And let's move it back up. Notice that when the shape was created, a new tab appeared at the top of your screen. That tab is Drawing Tools Format. Go ahead and click on the Drawing Tools Format. There are a lot of options inside of Drawing Tools Format. I'm not going to show you all of them, but I do want you to become familiar with both shape styles and size. Notice that Colored Fill Blue-Gray Accent 1 is selected. If you wanted to change the style, you could click on a different style. You can see how it would look by hovering, and notice there's a More arrow in this group. If you click, you'll get even more choices. Let's change the style by clicking in the second column and choosing Light 1 Outline, Colored Fill, Blue-Gray, Accent 1. On your own, you may want to experiment changing the shape fill, the shape outline, which is a thick white line right now, or even adding shape effects. You should also know that in addition to resizing with the handles, you can input precise measurements in the last group in Drawing Tools Format, which is size. Notice that size displays height and width. Your height and width measurements may be different than mine. Let's go ahead and change them together. To do that, select the numbers in the height box and then key new numbers. You do not need to key the inch sign. Key 1.5 in height and then be sure to press your enter key. I'd also like to show you the alignment setting in the Arrange group. To make sure that your shape is centered on the page, click on the drop-down arrow next to Align in the Arrange group. Next, click Align Center. Finally, we'll add text. Shapes automatically are set up for text to be added to them. Because your shape is selected, if you begin typing, the text will be added in the middle of the shape. Make sure your shape is selected and then type Pine Ridge Trail. If you wanted to format that text, you could format it using the font group in the Home tab. Select Pine Ridge Trail, click on the Home tab, and next, increase the font by clicking on the Increase Font Size button 2 times and add text shadow and bold. Click outside of the shape. To finish the slide, let's add a second shape and add the text Overloop Look to that shape. The easiest way to do this is to copy the shape. Click on the shape Pine Ridge Trail. Make sure your Home tab is selected, and in the Clipboard group, click the Copy button. Next, click the Paste button. You've now created a copy of the shape. Move the shape down by moving into the top shape until a 4-headed arrow displays, and then move the shape down. Replace the text Pine Ridge Trail by selecting the text and then key Overlook Loop. Make sure the shape is center aligned. Click on the Drawing Tools Format tab, click Align, and then click Align Center. Finally, click outside of the shape. Go ahead and save your file. You can do that either by clicking the Save button or pressing Control S. Let's add our end slide with our contact information. To do that, we'll add a title slide. Click the drop-down arrow next to New Slide and then click on Title Slide. Click on the Click to Add Title placeholder and type Need to Contact Us. Add a question mark, and in the subtitle, type a phone number. Once you're finished, save the file by clicking on the Save button or pressing Control S. And then return to slide 1. We are finished creating all of the slides in our presentation, and now we'll work to finalize the presentation. You may decide that you want to number all of your slides. To do that, you'll want to create a footer. To create a footer, move your mouse to the Insert tab and click, and then click on the Header and Footer button in the text group. Make sure you're in the Slide tab. We'll discuss notes and handouts later. To add a slide number to each slide, click the Slide Number checkbox to add a check mark. Let's also add a footer. That will be text that appears on the bottom of each slide. Click to add a check mark to the footer checkbox and then key Pine Ridge Park. Click the Don't Show on Title Slide checkbox so that our footer will not show on the title slide. Next, click the Apply to All button. Click on slide 2 to see the footer and note that it will be on all of the slides in your presentation except for the title slide. Return to slide 1 by clicking. Your presentation is almost ready to be run as a slideshow. Before moving to slideshow view, you should add a transition before each slide, and that's very easy to do. Make sure slide 1 is selected and then click on the Transitions tab. To add a transition to a slide, simply click on the slide transition you desire. For example, if I click Fade, I can see the fade transition. If I click Push, I can see the push transition. If you'd like to see a complete list of the transitions you can use, click the More arrow in the group. Notice you can choose from subtle, exciting, and dynamic content. Make a selection and then notice the indicator next to slide 1 to show that you've applied a transition. To apply the transition to all slides, move to the timing group and click Apply to All. If you scroll down, you can see that the transition has been applied to all of the slides in the presentation. Now let's run the slideshow. Make sure slide 1 is selected so the slideshow will run from slide 1. Next, move to the View buttons and click onto Slideshow View. Your presentation now displays in Slideshow View, and you may have noticed the transition you selected appeared before your slide appeared. The basics of moving through a slideshow are to click the left mouse button to move to the next slide. When you do that, you'll see the transition and your next slide will appear. And then I'll just simply left click to move to the next slide. Continue to left click until you reach the last slide. And then left click again at the black screen that displays at the end of your presentation. You are now back in normal view. So you have now created a slideshow. Remember, as we talked about at the beginning of the course, as you clicked through the slideshow, you would stop at each slide and you would present information about that slide. But for this class, our focus is the technical aspects of PowerPoint. Notice in the Transitions tab at the far right, We are using the default advanced slide on mouse click. You can set up your slideshow to advance slides automatically. Let's try that. To advance slides automatically, let's begin by unchecking the on mouse click checkbox. Next, check the after slide box. Notice the duration is 0. Use your up arrows to change the duration to 4 seconds. These changes will only apply to slide 1, so we need to make sure to click the Apply to All button so that the timing changes apply to all slides. Now let's run our slideshow again. This time, because we have Advanced Slide automatically set up, you will not need to left click. To begin the slideshow, move to the slideshow button and click. And just wait, and your slideshow will advance automatically. So after 4 seconds, you'll see a transition, and then the next slide will display. Remember, when you're setting automatic slide timings, to have slide 1 selected, and after you have set the automatic slide timings, it's important that you click the Apply to All button so that the automatic slide timings apply to each slide. At the end of your slideshow, at the black screen, you'll have to left click your mouse to return to normal view. Let's return advanced slide to the default on mouse click. To do that, uncheck the after checkbox and check the on mouse click checkbox. Remember, this will only apply to slide 1, so go ahead and click Apply to All. And let's save our presentation. You can either click the Save button on the Quick Access toolbar, or you can press Control S. The last thing we'll discuss about our PowerPoint presentation are the print options that are available to you. You may want to print out your presentation for proofing purposes. You may want to print your notes that you've added to slides to use to assist you when you give your presentation, or you may want to print handouts for your audience. Before we move to the print screen, let's go back to the Insert Header and Footer area and discuss the header and footer information that you can add to your notes and handout pages that you may want to print. Click on the Insert tab and then click on the Header and Footer button. Previously in the class, we discussed the Slide tab. Now we'll discuss the Notes and Handouts tab, so click on Notes and Handouts. Notice there's a check mark by page number. By default, a page number will display on your notes and handouts. Let's add date and time. Notice that will update automatically. It will display the current date on the day that you print the notes and handouts. You could also add text for a header, which would print at the top of each page, or a footer, which would print at the bottom. Let's add a header. Click on the header checkbox and then key text. In this example, we'll type the title of our presentation. Next, we'll click the Apply to All button. You'll notice when you print notes and handouts, the header and footer information will display. To print your PowerPoint presentation, move to the File tab and click. Next, click Print. Notice there is a Print button. Before you click the Print button, let's discuss options. One copy will be created unless you use the arrow to increase the number of copies. For example, if you wanted 4 copies. Your printer is already set. If you had a choice of more than one printer, you could change it. In this case, I am only connected to one printer. And it is set to print full page slides. I can see in the preview mode, I am currently looking at slide 1 of 7. I can use the next page arrow to move to the next page or the next slide. I can also use that arrow to move to the previous slide. I'll move back to slide 1. There are different options besides printing a full page slide. If you click the drop-down arrow in the full page slide area, you will see lots of different options. Let's take a look at notes pages. You may recall that we added notes on some of the pages of our presentation. For example, in slide 1, you can see the notes. If we click Next Page, we'll see that we also have notes on slide 2. We didn't add them to any of the other slides, but we certainly could have, and we could still go back and add those notes. I'm going to go ahead and return this to slide 1. This shows you exactly how your notes pages would print out. It would print out all of the notes that you created, and you could use it as you were giving your presentation. Other selections for printing are Outline, showing an outline of your entire presentation, as well as different types of handouts. For example, 3 slides per page, and many people like this handout because it comes with lines for your audience to write. For some reason, this is the only handout that comes with the lines, so many people prefer this. Once you decide what you want to print, let's say for example, I decided to print this handout, I would simply click the print button. And in a moment, you'll hear the sound of the printer. It would print and return me to normal view. If you're not printing today, let me return back to the print screen. If you're not printing, you would click the Home tab. You have completed PowerPoint 1. You have learned how to create a PowerPoint presentation with text and bullets and shapes, as well as how to add transitions, to run your slideshow, and to print your slideshow. We look forward to working with you again through one of the pre-recorded classes or the face-to-face classes at COPA.